today's little A303 video is brought to you from here and here. So, for clarification, that's here on an old Roman road which went from Swindon down to Winchester, and the old A303 which we stood on right now at the east side of Andover. And here on the old Portway Roman road, halfway between Newbury and Basingstoke. Equally, we could have filmed this in North Baddesley, or just south of Monk Sherburn, or even Farlington near Portsmouth, all with the same purpose. But we ran out of time. And that's just in Hampshire alone. What connects all these places? Let's start with Pavey's grave. A friend of mine had pointed out Pavey's grave on an old OS map and wondered what it was. In fact, it's still there now. If you go to Bing Maps, click on OS, you can see it for yourself. So, what was Pavey's grave? After significant searching and Googling, we drew a lot of blanks. What we should have searched for, however, was the Crossroad Grave. Clearly, this is located on a crossroad, as with here in Kingsclere. My first thought when we were looking into this is that we're looking at a similar proposition to that of the Saxon punishment cemeteries. For example, those near Harestock, just north of Winchester, and the one we discussed in the last video on the west side of Andover near Aldie. But Pavey is just one man. That's not a cemetery. It turns out that this grave should have been referred to as a suicide grave, as was Root's grave in North Baddesley, Bavis grave in Farlington near Portsmouth, Moff's grave just south of Monk Sherburn, Alcombe's grave just outside of Holmesley. And this one. Picture the scene. It's late Middle Ages, and not only a society heavily engorged in Christian beliefs, but also remnants of pagan beliefs and folkway still found their way into modern life. Since they were considered of such places of disassociation from the natural order, they were a perfect spot for the outcast. Outcast burials were commonplace in Anglo-Saxon times. The first recorded instance of this happening was in 1510. Robert Browner was accused of fiddling the church books. Subsequently, he hung himself. His body was buried and staked at a nearby crossroads. So why place a stake through the man's heart? It was seen that suicide was an extremely unnatural death, and therefore his soul would never really be at rest. It did not live the life that God intended it to. A stake through the heart at a crossroads and put pay to the real fear that their ghost would come and haunt the community. The coroner's verdict was often felon de se, a crime upon oneself, a felon upon oneself. During the early 1800s, society's view on depression, mental illness and suicide slowly began to change. And it was in 1822 when Lord Castlereagh committed suicide that the abolishment of the crossroad burial sites took place.